Hello, everyone. Hey, welcome to Cocktails and Vinyl. And tonight's my guest, Michael. Hey, Michael, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm okay. It's a beautiful night here in Raleigh, and I've been looking forward to this week. And so here we are, trying to make it happen. Yeah. Uh, would you um would you like to introduce yourself, Michael?
Sure. My name is. I'm pulling my headphones off because I have an echo. So, my name is Michael Edwards, and I am in North Carolina and enjoy. I've been a Kiss fan since I was 5 or 6 years old, I guess, and so my whole life basically. And just saw them in Raleigh a couple nights ago for the probably the last time. For hopefully, maybe who knows. So, I am analog wavelength.
Hello, Analog. How are you? Cheers. Yeah, I'm
Yes.
drinking my orange concoction. Hello, Adam.
Hey, Adam.
Well, cool. So, there's Nick. Hello, Nick. How are you?
Hey, Nick.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate it a bunch. Good to see you. And then Kiss Time. Hey, Brian.
Yeah.
It is Kiss Time. Absolutely. I think it is Kiss Time. But anyway, there we go. Uh, so you saw him. How many times have you seen Kiss?
I was trying to think. I could add it up. I think this was around 27 or 28 times over the years, and this tour 3 times because we saw them. The first time they hit Raleigh, we saw them in Greensboro, and then this last one. And this one, was rescheduled a couple times. It was originally supposed to happen in 2020. Last year, they rescheduled it, and the night before the show, they had to cancel because Paul and Gene both got COVID. So
Yeah.
they just they had like a couple other shows that were canceled for various reasons on that leg of the tour, and so they only did like 5 U.S. shows on this little run, kind of sandwiched in. They're doing a festival in Florida tonight, actually in Daytona,
Oh,
and so they were doing that. And so they wound up booking these other or scheduling these other shows for tonight or for this last couple weeks between a South American tour and a European tour. So the stage that we saw was completely different. So it was kind of
oh, wow.
interesting. They had to basically make a stage for these few shows because everything for the main tour is on the way to Europe now. So
Oh, really?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Adam saw PNC
So that
as
was the
well as,
Raleigh Arena show in April of
yeah, as
2019.
well
Yeah.
as Greensboro. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. You said you had to sell the tickets because the row we were in, there was like 10 empty seats in the row, but they were sold. So I think the people just couldn't show up or for whatever reason. And so we had a very large, we actually wound up walking down and a little more towards the center because we were in the right-hand side and got to see it. It was great. Good show. Nice to see him again. I took a friend with me who had never seen him and he didn't know anything really about Kiss. So it was fun watching him more than watching the band. Like,
Yeah.
because, of course I know where everything's going to happen and going, okay, you need to watch over here or look over here.
Yeah.
So,
So the first time you saw Kiss, I'm sure that was really exciting. But is there a favorite show that you can remember? Is there a show that stood out? Certain musicians that were present, things
the
like that.
first show was one of them actually, and so and actually we're kind of talking tonight a little bit about today is the 30th anniversary of Revenge coming out,
Hmm.
which came out in 1992. I actually saw him for the first time in 1990 on the Hot in the Shade tour. So that was with Bruce Kulick, Eric Carr, Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, and that was a phenomenal show. I
Ooh.
I don't think they've ever topped that show as far as production. And this last tour they did had a huge production, but it just doesn't have the Hot in the Shade show. Not only was a big production, it had a lot of innovation in it, and it was a little bit different than what you'd see normally. Hey, I know who that is. And there's a lot of that show was absolutely the best show I've ever seen in my life, period, probably. And then I've seen a lot of great shows. And then the Revenge Tour, which was in 92, both of those shows were really good. I think my favorite shows that I saw were always non-makeup. And then once they came back into the makeup, I mean, I've seen them do some amazing shows in that. Hampton in 1996 was a great show. Greensboro in 2000 was a great show. I've seen some okay shows, and I've seen some really good ones. So a good Kiss show is, it's like the joke about sex and pizza, right? There's it's never bad. It's just different degrees of good. So, Kiss is kind of the same way. You never see a bad Kiss show.
Oh, there you go. So, is it true that they make you show your card proving that you can really rock and roll all night and party every day?
Man, I hope not. Because if they did, there's a lot of people that would fail that test now. It's because there's a lot of I feel young at a Kiss show sometimes, but I also feel old because there's a lot of kids that go. There's it is like Adam says, there's a lot of, to see the kids and see them like totally into it, totally knowing it. And they're like 3-4 years old. And I think probably what it is, they do these big balloons that they throw out into the crowd. And I think probably part of it, what it is, of course, the makeup and the whole superhero thing brings up, that kid thing. It makes kids gravitate towards them, and then they like the music because it's catchy and easy to remember. And, Kiss has always been about songs that are easy to sing along to. And, you only have to hear the chorus a couple times before you're into it, Shout It Out Loud, I Love It Loud. All those songs really have a big crowd interaction. So I did not see them with Vinny. That was a little before my time as far as going to live shows. Definitely have some shows with Vinny and stuff. So, cause I collect a lot of bootlegs and stuff. So I have concerts from every era, but did not see them with Vinny.
Well, the first time you saw him, the first show you saw that had Ace and Peter. How did that feel?
It was interesting because at the time, I know the guys in the band, and Bruce Kulick is a really good friend of mine. And even then I knew him. And so when he got let go, basically, I wasn't so happy that they were doing it. Cause there was a lot of people at that time who got back into them, or who hadn't really been around for a long time, who then were like suddenly on the Kiss bandwagon. And it was cool in a sense, because it was such a huge, the first show I saw actually was in Greensboro, and I had photo passes to shoot it. So for the beginning of it, we weren't out there. They waited. You normally shoot the first 2 songs, but because of the curtain drop and everything, they held everybody back until about the end of the first song, and we got to go out and shoot the second and third songs. And so we were standing back behind the stage waiting for it to start. And I could see the 4 guys standing over there ready to go on, and they, at that time they played Won't Get Fooled Again by The Who right before they came on. And when they hit the big scream that Daughtry does, they dropped the Kiss curtain in front of the crowd, in front of the stage. And I have never experienced anything like that in my life. The crowd, everybody just jumped up to their feet at the same time, and you felt the whole building just shake when it happened. And it was like a shot of lightning through the place. It was an unbelievable, like every hair on my body stood up, when that happened. It was amazing. And so that was fun. So yeah, you definitely got it. And then I go out to shoot the photos, and they're right in front of me. And these are the guys that, when I was 5 years old were. So I remember I was shooting the pictures, and I reached up and had to touch Paul's boot to just say I did it. And then they knew me. And so they started really playing, and it was fun. They gave me a lot of great photos, and it was a nice experience.
Tardis saw Vinny at a convention, and he says that Vinny's a strange person.
That is
I've never met him.
Understatement.
Understatement. There you go. Yeah. So, hey, folks, if you're just joining us now for Cocktails and Vinyl, tonight the guest is Michael Edwards, and we're talking Kiss.
Yes.
Michael, you want to start showing some stuff?
Sure. Celebrating the 30th anniversary of Revenge, and I've got some Revenge stuff, but I kind of wanted to touch on a couple of things that have come out recently that have been like crazily popular. And so Kiss is doing quite a few exclusives, and there's some things coming out of Germany. Actually, the record company over there has pressed some special things in the last couple of years. And the first one, some of you have probably seen this, is a German Killers, and it's not reflecting and glaring. It's actually a metallic cover. And they did they did really cool pink vinyl, but they did a reproduction of what the Japanese version of this looked like. Let me move that over. So it's the Japanese book, but with the German logo. And so it has this cool, like very Japanese kind of insert with graphics and stuff and a sticker. And so they tried to reproduce it and make it really cool. It's a gatefold. It's the only Kiss album as of right now pressed on 45 RPM. Ooh. So yes, you have to flip it a lot, but it sounds good.
Flip it good.
And the pink is nice.
The pink is nice. Adam says that while he appreciates the reunion tour, it also makes him sad that they put Bruce and Eric on the back burner. Yeah.
And, as he mentions, Carnival Souls, they're a great record. And yeah, it was really to the end of the band for the most part as a creative entity. It became more about nostalgia, shows, those kinds of things. They have, of course, done a couple albums since. They did do one album that was in that era, which didn't have Peter and Ace on it, but had them on the cover. And then also had a couple, since then in 2009 and 2012. But as a rule, they really went back to doing became a legacy act rather than as a band that was putting out albums every couple months or every couple of years. Sorry. Yeah. And we were already kind of in that mode because they had done Revenge in 1992, and there really was never another studio album. Carnival of Souls was done at the end of 95, but didn't come out until 97 because of the reunion. So it was like shelved, came out later. So it was like this lost album for a while. There were really bad bootlegs of it that were circulating around, and it finally came out. But it was kind of anticlimactic at that point because they were in the midst of the reunion tour. And as Adam said, having it as a fan of that band, it was almost like here's something you'll never have. Here's a great band that you'll never hear again. So
who played on Carnival?
I would have been happy if they'd done the reunion and then done Eric and Bruce back, like done it for one time and then brought the band back. But that was not to be. We knew that once the makeup went back on, it wasn't coming back off. And it does help them. At 70 years old, they don't look it with the makeup on,
But I am seeing sound checks that are showing up on YouTube of this in the last few. And with the sound checks, they don't have makeup on.
No, that's done right before they go get ready. So,
Wow.
Sometimes when they don't have their clothes on, as we saw with Gene in his robe, but.
Good conversation.
He was apparently getting his hair dyed, and so he needed to be naked for that. I guess I don't know.
I don't either. Yeah. Good for him. Yeah.
But
alrighty.
Yeah. So going back to Germany, after this Killers thing came out, they said, "Oh, let's try that again." So they did The Elder, which is, of course, a very. This album has a lot of fans and a lot of not fans. So this has like a gold foil cover, and they did another little insert that mimics the Japanese overlay. So when this album first came out, the Japanese weren't crazy about it being with this cover with no Kiss picture, because they were like, Kiss is a really visual band. Why aren't they on the cover? So they made this and put on it and said, you gotta, yeah. So this is a replica of that front cover. So and then in Australia, there was a little photo insert. So they did it like a two-sided reproduction. One is the Japanese, one is the Australian kind of bonus that came with it. And that was included in this. And it's on, pull this out, very clear vinyl. It's kind of nice. I said they should press it on gold because that's the only way the Elder will ever go gold. But this is the one album that came out in their original run that was never certified. So anyway, that came out earlier this year out of Germany. Really nice. Again, the gold foil makes it look really cool. The gatefold's really nice. And then Kiss announced some limited picture discs. So they did this one, which I think is still available on their site. And this is the standard limited picture disc, not the limited pictures. It comes with this lenticular insert, which is kind of neat. But the picture disc is the label, a hand, and the back of a hand. And you can't really see it in person on the camera, but it looks like shit. It's pretty like pixelated, or it looks like they took a picture of the label and blew it up. So Then they did the limited edition, which again has an overlay with the Japanese cover. There were only 500 of these. And it is absolutely fantastic. Like, really nice pictures on both sides. And this sold out in 15 minutes. And also sold to a bunch of people who wound up not getting them because they took more orders than they had. Somehow they weren't doing very good with that. And so a bunch of people thought they had gotten one, and then they got an email saying, sorry, we oversold it. You're not getting one. And so, yeah. So,
are you going to Creature Fest?
Everybody asked me. I am not, for two reasons. One, it's a holiday weekend, and I actually didn't really want to be gone that weekend. And also, I work for Bruce when I go to any expo, so I would just be working for 4 days straight. So no, I'm not going. It will be cool. I think I know he's going to do a really great show. I think he gave it away on Eddie Trunk's show today, so I can say they're doing the full Revenge album for that show, his band. And I don't think they've ever done that. They've done the songs here and there, but it'll be the full album plus some other stuff. He's going to play with Vinny. Ace and he and Vinny are going to play together. So there's going to be some interesting moments for sure that could go well or could be a little bit of a, it's a little bit of a crapshoot because of them not having a chance to rehearse together. So, I mean, I'm sure they will at some point during the day, but yeah. And then again, Vinny is very unpredictable. Is a good word for it. So who knows if he'll show up, if he'll want to do it, but the check cleared, so he'll be there. And Bruce, I know, will put on a great show, and I think Ace will be fine. So, Peter Criss is going to be there. I think, Eddie pointed out it's every living former member of the band. So it will be there. So it's a pretty cool event for Kiss fans for sure.
Yeah, that's very true about VV.
And there's some possible exciting other things that are going to happen that haven't been announced yet. So, yes.
All righty. Yeah. Where will that take place and when?
Nashville over Memorial Day weekend.
That's coming up really soon.
Yeah, it's not very long. So,
well, hopefully we'll be able to see some of that stuff on YouTube after it's over with.
That was kind of my thinking. Like, I can watch it and not have to be there and not have to be working 12-hour days for 4 days on a holiday weekend. So.
Oh, you tease.
Yes, hey, I'm not going there. Oh, yes, I'm not giving away what's going on. Mark might know what's being played. So I pulled out a couple of non-makeup rarities here. One is, I like these things. These are 12-inch promo singles that were sent to radio. And they got to the point later in the 80s where it would just be a plain sleeve with a sticker on it, or maybe just a plain sleeve. But at first they had these cool custom covers, and they're the same song on both sides. So you can't screw it up. You're going to play the right song. And this is just Lick It Up, the song Lick It Up. And I like these. They're not very hard to find. They're not very expensive. One I will say that's worth checking out is Thrills in the Night, because it does have an edit of the song on it that's not on anything else. So, or well, there was another like 7-inch single, but that version doesn't exist very many places. But speaking of the Animalized record, here's one that they did for Heaven's on Fire. Yeah. And I like the big Kiss logo, again, you just flip it up. You can't flip it, can't play the wrong song. So this is not this is sort of a non-makeup. This is one from Brazil. This compilation came out there.
Orochty.
84. Yeah, I think Orochty was a series of albums that came out, and Kiss was one of the ones they did. It has a couple of distinctions. One is it's the only Brazilian-only compilation, and it's the only album to ever feature Mark St. John on the front cover. So that's a shot from the Heavens on Fire video. And so he never really played too many live shows with them because he got sick, and then Bruce came in. But this compilation, when they picked the cover photo, they picked this one. It also has a really interesting song mix for a compilation. It's not like your standard greatest hits. So I enjoy it. And we talked about this one before, so I won't spend a lot of time on this, but I pulled it out. The non-makeup version of the Creatures of the Night album, which has gotten very hard to find and very expensive lately. But yeah, this one was reissued because they felt like the non-makeup band might sell more copies at that time, because it came out, it was the last album they did with a makeup cover. And so this was an attempt to say, hey, look at the music on it, not the faces. So, and it was remixed a little bit. Track order was changed a little bit, but this one's hard to find now. Now you find collectors looking for that one instead of the original pressing. And for years, this cover was what you found more than the creature, the original blue makeup cover. But that one's easier to find now.
Isn't there 2 different makeup covers?
No.
Okay, gotcha.
There are. So there is a. Yeah. I visit Kiss Fac a little bit, and I know what you mean. But no, there is a makeup cover with Vinny on it. Hey, Dio got one finally. I know you were looking for that. They did issue a cover with Vinnie Vincent on it in makeup, but those are not real. They're counterfeits. They're not a legit release. They are mentioned a lot of times as the Brazilian pressing of the record, but they're not. They're just a counterfeit. Probably made
okay, gotcha.
Yeah, like some basement in LA is where they're being made, but they're yeah, they've become easier to find now. And now we have this single from the Asylum record. It's one of the only picture sleeves of the song All Night. And what's interesting about this is the photo is actually a photo of a cardboard stand-up that was done. It was issued as a record promo for to record stores. And I guess the band wasn't available, or they didn't find a nice photo they liked, so they just took a picture of this and stuck it on the cover. So kind of weird, but hard to find. Very hard to find that one. I grabbed this by mistake, but the Japanese Asylum has a nice little extra sticker, and I think the sticker I might have thrown in from a CD thing, but the iron on, this is an iron on, so you can iron it on your shirt. Put little Kiss logos all over your stuff.
There you go.
And the Dutch fan club did a series of picture discs in 1986 and into 87. And they were originally going to do all of the albums, but the series ended before some of them came out. But a lot of people say Asylum, the cover art is so bad. This is like the only way that it looks good is as a picture disc. So, I mean, it does work well. Sorry, Eric, I'm covering your lips, but, whoops. There's the back. And so that artwork did translate nicely to a round disc. Some of them didn't quite as well. There's the one for Unmasked is just, yeah, it's like the square album and it's just cut off. It's just like, yeah. Okay. Yes. So this is an interesting question, Adam. I actually worked on that release. The labels on that I designed for Peter Criss. So just to give a little bit of background here, there's a company called the Rockologist that's run by a guy named Tom Shannon. He had worked with Bruce on a couple records. He worked on an Eric Carr release, and I worked on all of those with him. So he got a license from Universal to reissue the 2 Peter Criss solo albums from the 80s. So it was the Out of Control and Let Me Rock You were the 2 albums Peter did in the 80s. And of course, Universal owns the rights to that music. And so if you want to put it out, you go through them. You don't go through Peter Criss. Peter has no control over that. The same way, honestly, if I wanted to put a Kiss record out, I would go through Universal. It wouldn't be through Kiss. They don't get any say in what gets put out. They don't own those recordings or that music. So, which is why you see Universal's doing like the ones I just showed a while ago. Kiss has been involved in them to some extent because they make money on it and they have, learned that they can make a pretty penny selling them or whatever. But from an ownership perspective, they don't own it. So Tom had reached out. He actually reached out to Universal on several titles. Because Universal over the last few years has taken lots of labels, and it's now this big gargantuan pile of music. There's so many labels that fall under it. So he had reached out to them asking about several titles, and he got the rights to the 2 Peter Criss. He had to pay for the records to be mastered for vinyl, or the original tapes to be taken and mastered for vinyl. They did not provide any artwork because they didn't have it. But there was a caveat that they couldn't change the artwork. It had to be the original artwork. So he had to wind up taking like original pressings, like good clean copies, and photographing them, basically cleaning it up. What they're doing really for a lot of reissues now. And then the labels, I actually got the blank template of a Casablanca label, and then I had to type all the text in for it with the new credits and stuff, because it was like, copyright 2021 under license 2, all of that had to be added in. So I laid out the labels. I did not work on the covers. Another person cleaned up the covers and got them looking as good as they could. And as all of this is happening, because as everybody probably knows, vinyl takes a long time to get produced now. It's taking it a ton of time. From the time you say, I want to put a record out, to the time you have it in your hand can be over a year because of the pressing plant delays and COVID. All kinds of things have happened that have continued to delay releases. So as that was being worked on, the covers being worked on, the labels are being done, we're, getting everything. Tom's figuring out what kind of press, who he wants to press it, because we had used a company out of California that went out of business. So he had to find a new pressing plan. He wound up getting Third Man to do them, which is Jack White's company. All Above Board was reaching out to Peter Criss and to his wife, Gigi, to say, hey, on these other releases I've done, and he's done some for Ace Frehley, he's done different ones. This was the first one that he got the license directly from. Most of them were albums that were out. Well, and the Eric Carr one we did was the first record we did from scratch. The other ones were he did basically like enhanced collector's editions of the records that where they had like a signed piece in them or some memorabilia in the case of Eric Carr, because of course he can't sign anything anymore. But we had a couple of releases like that. He did one with Ace Frehley where Ace signed the covers and there were different versions of it and whatnot. So he reached out to Peter saying, hey, you know, I got the license. I'm doing, I think it's 5,000 of each record. Would you like to sign some? Maybe we do a poster or some kind of insert, like to make it a special edition. I'll pay you whatever you want per signature to do it. And then, you know, I'll have them and sell them, or I'll give you a lot of the record, you know, like a however many there are, you can sell them if you want. There were several different things he proposed to Peter and Gigi, and they just never really responded. They didn't agree to do it. They apparently got very caught up in the royalty, which is not paid really by Tom, right? He pays the record company. The record company then pays out to whoever wrote the songs or gets paid for that. And it's a very small amount. Like Paul, I think Tom's total amount he paid was $2,400, I think, for each record. I don't remember. It was something along those lines. It wasn't a lot. And so they got all caught up on that instead of the amount of money they could make on signing them or whatnot. And so they basically said, Peter will not sign any of these. Like if you bring him to Creatures Fest, he's going to not sign it. Tom had a table set up at Creatures Fest. And to be fair, Tom did post something online, basically kind of laying out everything and like saying, I don't really understand why it went south. I tried to work with you. Why are you now saying you won't even sign them, or basically making it out to be an illegitimate record when it's not? It is a licensed release. They viewed that, I think, as airing dirty laundry, you know, and Tom was asked to not show up at Creatures Fest, so he can't be there and sell his product. And they, you know, Peter and Gigi, there's people saying, oh, well, Peter had nothing to do with it. Clearly there was some influence there where, you know, they didn't want to rock any boats or have a guest, like, you know, and I do see both sides of it. You know, if something similar was going on with Bruce, I can say we wouldn't really want that person to be sitting across the hall from us, like selling their stuff, you know. But again, Bruce would not have, he would have understood the rules, you know, that it was a legal release. There was no underhanded things done.
Right.
It was almost like they wanted Peter wanted like Tom to go to him and ask for permission to put the records out. And even if he gave it to him, that didn't matter because it had to come from the record company. They own it. They have to say. So yeah, that's the story. And like I say, I do see both sides. I'm sorry that it went that way. I wish that it could have been something that Peter was happy that his music was getting back out there, because it hasn't been on vinyl since 1980 and 1982. It's the Let Me Rock You album was never released in the US. So it was the first pressing that could be sold here or would be sold here. And so I'm sorry that it went that way. Things like that seem to happen with Kiss. You know, everybody wants a piece of it. And I think that has corrupted a lot of people, both on the side of like fans or people who might be associated with them or worked with them and want to get more or have some kind of role or think they have some kind of role. And then also the former members have this chip on their shoulder that like, oh, well, I'm worth a lot more maybe than they are. Or honestly, I think the price that they were asking, Tom was willing to pay, but it just never worked out. So fine, but don't try to undercut his whole business because you didn't want to do a deal. You know, he didn't do anything illegal or wrong, you know. So that's how it was.
I think it's unfortunate for both.
Yeah.
especially for Peter. But yeah, yeah.
Well, yeah, because
Adam
Peter's
says
going to be the one that doesn't get any more exposure.
yeah.
So,
Hey, looking
yeah.
back at Asylum, Tony says the art on the T-shirt is worse.
Yeah. It wasn't a great time. I mean, apparently Paul saw a Motels album and said, "Oh, I like that, and I want to make it." And this is what came out. So, not the best look for them, but it was the '80s. So, speaking of not a great look, this record, another hard to find one. I threw it in there because it came out in '85 in Australia, and as you can see, it's very plain. And it is what it says. It's all the singles that were released in Australia. This was sold on late night TV. And apparently Kiss didn't approve of it like beforehand. Speaking of rights and things, and maybe they had some say in this. So they went, no, you can't sell this. So it was pulled very quickly. And so copies of it can be kind of hard to find. It's, at this point, it's not as expensive a record as that Elder picture disc I showed you a few minutes ago. That thing's going for a lot now because if you're looking at least $700 for that. So, and it just came out. It's weird that some of the most valuable Kiss records were released in the last couple of years. Yeah. So,
yeah, it happens like that a lot.
So, Crazy Nights here. There's a picture disc. The light was kind of weird. This is I don't
remember, Adam.
The European pressing of the Crazy Nights picture disc, which was done for the Monsters of Rock Festival in '88. Other side's just the album cover. There's two versions of this. This is the rarer one from Europe, but this one's kind of, again, one that you would seek out, but not that super expensive, or it wasn't. Everything's going crazy now. And I pulled this because this is, speaking of unlicensed or unauthorized, somehow these records are coming out over in Europe and they're not bootlegs, but here they might be considered that, but they're unofficial, unauthorized pressings. So this is actually a radio show that was done in '88. And I guess the rights of that recording are owned by somebody who could sell them. And this record, and a lot of artists are getting these put out now over in Europe, but this one's nice on blue vinyl. This one just came out. At least it has a picture of the band that was on the album, because a lot of times the artwork doesn't match the content. But this is a really cool release, a really great show. If you're looking for an Eric Carr live album, this is the one to get right now, because he was never featured on a official live record, but this is as close as you're probably going to get.
Very cool. And you ordered that online and had it shipped over?
Yeah. I think they may show up in some record stores. It may be possible, like, for you to get it even. Yeah.
Well, I get emails all the time of fan club pressings, and I rarely order anything from those companies.
Well, and this is, again, like, this isn't a bootleg or a fan club pressing. This is a legit company who legit owns the rights to distribute it in the country it came out in, which I think is the UK. And of course you can import it, but it's not, you're not going to get in trouble selling this.
Yeah. There's lots of gray areas with.
They may not like it, but they can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Very cool.
And like I say, this one's the one to get of all of the pressings of that show. Okay. And there are lots of bootlegs of that show that came out in like the late '80s. So, and moving into where we're celebrating, well, this is a little bit before. I think I've shown this before. The promo that was done for Hot in the Shade. So, what's interesting about this, in addition to it having a very unique cover, the bottom half was originally going to be the cover for the Hot in the Shade album when it was called Crimes of Passion and it changed, and so they changed it to the Sphinx. But what's interesting about this, half the record is old songs, really from like, there's a couple of demos from their 1973 demo. There's a couple songs from that Killers compilation, because Killers was never released in the US and still hasn't really been, except in the Casteria box, and it's available on iTunes now. But this had a couple tracks from that, because there were some new songs on that had never had a US release. And then it has 4 songs from Hot in the Shade, but they're all non-singles. They're all Gene songs. They're not the singles. So it's a very weird promo album. Like, here's a record of the songs that you're not going to hear on the radio. So, yeah, I don't understand why they didn't put like Forever or Hide Your Heart on this thing, because those were the singles. But
how many of those records do you think there are?
There were 800 pressed.
800.
So, yeah. So not a huge number, but the Elder Picture disc, there were 500. The one that came out in 2020, the Dress to Kill Red, that was supposed to be, I think, 3,000 or 4,000 copies, but the pressing plants had to shut down. There was a big issue. Something happened, and only 300 were made. And so that one's really hard to find again, like a very recent release. But so here's a Greek test pressing of Hot in the Shade. So I was able to pick this one and this one, which is Revenge from Greece as well. Also a test pressing from the same person that had these and a few other polygram artists available. So very rare Revenge there. This one's another one that's not super easy to find now. Yeah. That Revenge repress is available and is easier to find. This is the original press from the UK.
Michael, can you help us a little bit with the glare?
Oh, sure. That better.
Thanks. That's
the UK this press. Came out in 92.
Okay.
So this was released on vinyl in Europe, but not here. So it was a couple years later, a company here pressed them on vinyl. Oops, this is kind of hard to, I know there's a glare on this, but here we go. On blue marble. So that's the first US release of Revenge. And then they also did it on gray vinyl, which I haven't opened this. It came sealed, but it's supposedly gray marbled vinyl in there of that one. So lots of little Revenges. So happy birthday to you guys. And then Alive 3, another record that did not get pressed on vinyl when it first came out anywhere, actually. The same company that did the blue and gray Revenges did a red, white, and blue Alive 3. So I'll just hold these up. There's Alive 3 that just had a birthday yesterday. But here's the red, white, and blue versions. These were numbered, and I was lucky enough to be able to get a set with all the numbers the same, which you would think that was how they were sold. But when they did their convention tour in 95, they sold these, and you could buy whatever color you wanted. So they were just grabbing them off the piles. So you had to ask, I want all 3 numbers the same. And so there aren't that many sets that are consistent, unless I guess if you pre-ordered them, maybe if you did them through the mail, maybe you got them the same, but it's hard to find one with the same numbers. And ending the makeup era, we have, or non-makeup era, Kiss Unplugged. This is the original vinyl pressing of that from 96 on yellow. There was a black one too. So they were getting into the colored vinyl stuff then. And I think I might have shown this before, but a very weird test pressing / prototype of Unplugged, where they were testing out the colors and it was supposed to be a marbled like something, but it's like a brown marble. So there's only a couple of these. I think it was supposed to look like gold, and it wound up being the yellow that you see over here. So yes, this is a little nicer shade of yellow than what they were going for here. So this was just interesting enough to pick up because there's not many of these. So a little pressing there. And then since I did just see the current band and talking about the recent albums, Sonic Boom, which came out in 1990 or 2009, sorry. And it was pressed through Kiss Online only. This is one of the real ones. This is the black one. And there are a lot of counterfeits out there. So you can at least get it on vinyl pretty cheap. Not that I'm recommending buying a counterfeit, but to find an actual pressing is pretty expensive. And this one was done, it's owned by Walmart. And so, or Walmart owned the CD rights. And I don't, for whatever reason, it was not included in the box set that they did. Yeah. Yeah, Adam says he has a blue and a purple. Yeah, they are very hard to find because they did one in each of the 4 Kiss colors: blue, red, blue, red, green, and purple. And then they did a black one as well. And you could buy all 5. And I remember going, I'm not paying that for 5 records of an album I actually don't really like. And then, of course, they've gone through the roof now. So I kind of wish I'd done it just from an investment standpoint. But a couple other little oddities and rarities. This was given out on the Kiss Cruise, the 5th one. So it was a single-sided. The version of Rock and Roll All Night, I believe, is from the Vegas show, the Kiss Rocks Vegas. And it has signed by all of them. Or actually, no, I think maybe it's the studio version that they re-recorded of Rock and Roll. I haven't ever played this, but it's signed by everybody. This was like what you got. You always get a signed something when you go on the cruise, either a poster or whatever. And this one year they pressed vinyl. And then the following year, it was a Creatures of the Night theme. So they did another one. The Kiss Cruise 6 exclusive LP, which is actually only a couple of songs. Red vinyl, and this one, instead of being covered or instead of being signed on the cover, has an insert that's signed by all 4. I think it's inside, but yeah.
Can I see the label on that one?
Sure. It's just a custom nautical themed,
There you go. Now, were you on the cruises, or did you happen to buy them later?
I got these later. I would not, And so there's the insert signed by everybody. And it's funny because I don't have anything signed by them other than these 2 things because I've never gotten the current band to sign anything. I have some of the older stuff, but yeah. So that's what I had pulled out for tonight. Lots of cool. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff. And
absolutely,
Adam has a lot of good stuff on the wall back there. If you don't have those,
do you have any 7-inch picture sleeves of Kiss?
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be good for next time. I like those a lot. Oh,
the box happens to be behind me. Let me go through here.
Where's Yolanda? Come on, Yolanda.
So I'll do some of the U.S. ones. This was the first one.
Flaming Youth
from Destroyer. So I have this, and years ago I did some work for the Kiss company, and Angus, who works for them, was like, do you want anything? I said, do you have any vinyl laying around? Because I like vinyl. And he said, yeah, I'll send you what I've got. I don't have much. He sent this, which is an acetate for the pressing of that single I just showed you.
Very cool.
So these are really rare. This is probably the
Very
only one of this, but
one of a kind.
and then I have a couple of the Japanese singles. I'm just kind of flipping through. Sorry, there's a Love Gun from Japan. But if we go forward, what's interesting is that Kiss being such a visual band, Flaming Youth came out as a picture sleeve, and the next one that came out was I Love It Loud in 1982. So the entire big run of the band, there was never a 7-inch picture sleeve in the U.S. So here's the I Love It Loud one with one of my favorite photos of them on the back. A lot of people have probably seen the promo poster for this that says the loudest band in the world. This is the picture sleeve. It was on there too.
Now, who's in the top right corner of on the picture sleeve?
It's Gene and Paul.
The other side.
Eric Carr.
Eric Carr. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, that's Eric's makeup. So, and that is the only album cover he appeared on makeup in the U.S. with them. So that was that original Creatures cover I was talking about. Let's see.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah, couple.
I like 7-inch picture sleeves. Oh, there you go.
There's a U.S. one. Crazy Nights had a U.S. one. I think I just had the Japanese one there. Here's the Reason to Live from Japan. Next to the last 7-inch pressed in Japan. I don't have Turn on the Night yet. I'm looking for that one. But if we go, another very rare one. This was the last one in Australia. A song called Rise to It. So this 7-inch came out over there. This was the last picture sleeve done there. And the last Kiss picture sleeve, legit Kiss picture sleeve is this one from Revenge. So this came out of not Germany, but somewhere in Europe. And then, yeah. So lots of 7 inches.
Adam. That would be cool.
So, yeah, and here's the very first one that I have in here is a promo. Oops, that's not it. The promo pressing of Kiss in Time, which was the song that they were forced to record for the first album. It was not on the first album. They were made to. Neil Bogart thought it would be a great idea to do that song. They did it. He said, "Oh, I'll just make a single. It'll never be on the album." And of course, as soon as the album was repressed, it was on there. So, yeah. So there's a lot of variants of that. One of the vinyls I have it says Kiss in Time is on it, but it's not actually on the record. Yeah. I think I've shown you that. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Hey, Mr. Beatles Pro. Excuse me. I can honestly say I do not own any Kiss on vinyl. Only CD. Nothing wrong with that.
Yep, I have a whole. I'll turn this. That CD rack over there is all Kiss. So I have, I think,
the
somewhere
loudest
in the
band in the world.
100. Yeah. And then I'll turn this back here. So this shirt that's hanging on the wall was actually, I am really bad at aiming this camera, was actually one Bruce wore in one of the Kiss photo shoots for Revenge. So he sent that to me a few years ago. If you watch the video he did on Revenge, you'll see him wearing it in there. There's some photos of it. He just put that out today to celebrate the 30th.
I saw that video Monday, Tuesday, one night. I did not realize there were very few picture sleeves.
There are a lot from foreign countries, but not here. Yeah, it was Flamin' Youth and I Love It Loud are the only that came out in the makeup era. And then there were a lot in Japan, a lot in Europe. And then like the 80s, they did them from like Tears Are Falling, Crazy Nights, Turn on the Night, and Reason to Live all got a picture sleeve, but that's it. So there's really only, 6 from the whole history of the band in the U.S. Yes, I would agree with that too, Adam. I think CDs are going to have somewhat of a resurgence, for sure.
I question that every week, folks, because I get so many calls and emails about people wanting to sell their CDs, and it's hard for me to bring them in and buy them when they don't sell very well.
They don't sell back out.
Yeah.
But look at cassettes. Who would have thought cassettes would make any kind of comeback? And now they're pressing stuff on cassette.
I've always enjoyed cassettes. I always enjoyed CDs. I have a little special. My heart goes out more to the cassettes. I like those just because I was able to do recordings. Pardon me. I haven't gotten any. Okay, great. And then Michael, I'm sure you have some Kiss cassettes and 8-tracks.
I have no 8-tracks. I have a few cassettes. And have some.
I gave you an 8-track.
Maybe I do have one. I don't know. I thought I did too, Adam, but I don't know where it's at. I don't know. Okay. But I definitely have a few cassettes, and have rebuilt the vinyl because I lost a lot of my original vinyl in a flood. So thankfully, most of the CDs, most of them survived, but I've had to replace some of those too.
So as
not
much
the disc, they're fine, but the
artwork, the jackets and the paper. As cool as Michael has all this cool Kiss stuff, and we've only been privy to a little bit of much of it. Mr. Beatles Pro has a YouTube channel with content, and he shows tons and tons of Beatles albums. So if you guys enjoy watching and seeing people's collections of things,
Bruce, if you're watching this, go check his channel. I know.
Yeah.
I sent Bruce the link earlier, but
cool.
I don't know if he's watching live or he may watch it later. Who knows? Yeah.
I even kept every video game system and games too. Oh, that's cool. I'll have to talk with you about that, Mr. Beatles Pro. I think cartridge-based video game systems are so much fun.
But everything comes back around in time, I think. And so I can see CDs being the not cool thing, and then suddenly people are like, these actually do sound better, and they're easier, and they're more durable, and I'm going to keep them, want to now have them, and I wish I hadn't got rid of them, and now I want them back or whatever. It could totally happen. My favorite cassette story, though, is the recent Motley Crue put out a box set of all their albums on cassette. Nice little box, had a magnetic closure on it, and it fucked up one of the cassettes in the set, which is really typical of Motley Crue. You would think Vince Neil designed it, but yeah. So
Vince Neil, there you go.
Hysterical to me.
Yeah. Well, great. Michael, I had a blast. It's been fun, and I do appreciate everybody coming and hanging out. I appreciate you hanging out with us, Michael. Well, I have to do it again soon. I think when we did it last was in 2020, I think.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, and cool things like that, as well as you cats. Let's hang out and talk. I enjoy doing this. Nico just walked in, and she's over there in one of the little cubbies spying on me. So
yes.
Yeah. Michael, I'm going to end this, but hang on right there. I got something to share with you. And everybody, have a wonderful night.
Yeah, thank you guys for showing up.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Have a good night.